Redditors, what's the stupidest thing you've said to a police officer? When I was about 15 years old, a few of my friends and I were pulled over at around 3 AM, way past curfew, and we were all stoned out of our minds. The only other girl and I were asked to sit on the tailgate to answer some questions. The cop asks me, "Why are you smiling at me? This isn't funny." I respond with, "I'm sorry officer, I wasn't aware I was smiling." When passing by two cops wrestling a troublemaker and forcing him in the backseat, I asked if they by any chance could drive a certain route, dropping me off at home. Guy kept driving over the corner of my grandfather's lawn. He lived on the corner, so the same truck would cut the corner by driving over a patch of grass. My grandfather had enough of it, so he got out a 2x4, slammed a bunch of nails in it, and buried it in the torn up patch of grass. Sure enough, the same truck hits it one day, blowing out not just one but two tires. He's freaking pee. He calls the cops. Officer shows up, hears about what happened, and tries to explain to my grandfather that while the truck driver shouldn't be driving on the grass, that putting the board with nails in there was dangerous and could have gotten someone hurt or killed. At this point, he's just trying to give my grandfather a warning. My grandfather responds, "Crap, if I couldn't find the nails I was gonna put a bouncing Betty, a landmine, in there." The officer rubbed his brow as if in distinct pain and squeezed out the words, "You really shouldn't tell me that." Thankfully my uncle was there to stop my grandfather from repeating his claim or making things any worse. There's a corner like this in my hometown. You can't put decorations, fence posts or anything like that close to the road, apparently. But you can't regulate against naturally occurring elements. They found a rock the size of a small car, buried a large part of it, grassed around it, and nobody can do crap, and nobody drives on their lawn anymore. I made a pit stop for some food on Highway 70 at like 10 PM back in 2014. When I got back on the road I forgot to turn my lights back on, so obviously Mr. Police officer helped me out with that by turning on his own. When he pulled me over he asked where I was headed. "I'm going to Colorado, officer." "Oh, what takes you there?" "Highway 70 sir." Then I accidentally handed him a bus pass instead of my license. Also, when he asked if I had any further questions, I held him up for a couple minutes asking about license plate patterns on different types of vehicles. Not a police officer, but I once said this to a security guard who was searching our car. "Don't worry, I don't do drugs. I am drugs." Admitting guilt when they ask, "Do you know why they're here?" They oftentimes don't know why they're there. They are just following up on a call with loose information based on what an outsider observed. They don't know about the bodies. I remember some years ago, some friends and I were shooting a scene for a zombie movie we were miking, and had stopped in this field a little of the road. There were like 5 of us, bloody, standing at various points in the field, and the rest conversing around the cars. When a police car pulled up, they asked, "What are you guys doing here?" Cue my friend saying, I lost my cat." They spent the next few minutes trying to help us search for the fake cat. It was a whole thing. Talk about swerve. "I pay your salary, so you work for me and I order you to let me go. This will get you handcuffed and slapped in the back of a police car." After sitting there about 20 minutes, I was giving a field test. Thank God I somehow passed it. He told me that I may not be drunk, but I am a butthole. We both agreed on that and he let me go. Very high, standing in line at the gas station. The police officer behind me sees that I'm wearing a shirt from the pizza shop I worked at. "Cop, our pizza shop name. I should come by for a slice." Me, "Yes sir, baked ziti." Biggest frick up of my legal career so far. Client is appealing a conviction for speeding and stopping beyond stop lines, with a careless driving charge based on his speed and stopping over the lines, capping it all off. He had been unrepresented when convicted in the lower court. Note that the careless driving charge was obviously duplicitous and bulls, but he was still convicted. In hindsight, it suggests that the first judge really didn't like this guy. He tells me that his driving was fine, and the only reason he was followed and stopped in the first place is that police wanted to search his car. I asked if they found anything. He said they found absolutely nothing. I was briefed very late in this matter and didn't have any more time to consult. So off I go. do what I can to contradict the fairly consistent evidence of 3 police officers. Nothing in their tendered statement said anything about a search, but my client said it happened, and I decided to put his case that the cops were fabricating the driving matters and only wanted to search his entirely innocent vehicle. To the cops, this was not necessary freaking hindsight again, but sometimes a narrative can help a judge, and other times it assuages the client's post-conviction feelings. Sometimes they just want their version told clearly in court. I am much slower to adopt this tack now. Constable, did you search my client's vehicle? Yes. I should have stopped here. I had what I needed that they searched the vehicle and did not know what the witness would be saying next. Why have you not detailed this search in your evidence thus far? Because of what we found. Oh frick. Oh frick. Oh frick. What was that? Yes, I was that much of a moron. The drugs. It didn't change the outcome of the case. I got rid of the careless driving, but he was otherwise guilty, and I had asked pointedly if anything was found, and my client confirmed that nothing was found. So it was definitely his fault. But yeah, many lessons learned. The cop probably really enjoyed that. I guess I gotta give them a win every once in a while. To be fair, that fault was on your client. You had asked him point blank before if they had found anything, to which he had responded no. Had he said that they actually had found drugs in his vehicle, you would not have continued with that line of questioning. At least I don't think you would have. The only thing I've ever said to a cop was, do you have change for a 5? I want to buy something from the vending machine, and he did. I had been gotten clean about a year prior and was with 4 sober friends in my car. I get pulled over at around 2 AM on a Saturday and tell myself, just be honest, you're doing nothing wrong. I roll down my window and the cop says, how long since your last drink? I reply, a year. I had to do a whole field sobriety test after he called me a smart butt. That cop sounds like a douche canoe. While driving a very standard, very obvious, rented U-Haul truck, I was pulled over for either a tail light or license plate light out. The officer said, you've got a light out back there. My reply, well, this isn't actually my truck. That cop just freaking shot a guy while filming said cop with my phone. Don't play paintball with cops. They can't take a joke and will shoot you in the dong. Man, if you're playing paintball without dong protection, it's kinda your own fault. We were drinking at a provincial campground and there was no parking nearby, so my friend Craig parks in the fire access area that clearly said no parking. A cop shows up an hour or 2 later and asks Craig to move his truck. He already had 3 or 4 beers and told the cop so. I told the cop I only had 1 drink and have my graduated license and would move it if he allowed me to. The cop looks at me and says, alright, you look pretty good, and I reply with, well thanks officer, but I don't swing that way. The cop immediately turned bright red and walks to his truck to write my friend a parking fine and tells me to move his truck. Please note that I am a male. I was in the zone, driving 85 in a 70 and passing the only other car in sight on the right, 2-4 lane rural interstate, because they wouldn't get out of the left lane. All of a sudden there's a state trooper behind me. He pulls me over and asks why I am going so fast, and I blurted out that I was keeping up with traffic. I didn't say it, my old roommate did, but it got me arrested. He was in my passenger seat and we were getting pulled over for speeding. We had like a bowl's worth of weed on us. Seriously, like a 0.2 grams nug and a Tylenol bottle in his pocket. He was a goody-goody type and had never had a run-in with the law, so he immediately starts to freak out. I look over and he asks what to do. I say, frick it, it's like a bowl, just eat it. He opens the pill bottle and the smell instantly fills the car. Hadn't planned on that. So I cracked the windows and broke a cigarette in half and put it in my mouth to light and cover the smell. Broke it shorter so when I lit it, it would appear I had been smoking it and hadn't just lit it then. Genius move, really, but I can't find a fricking lighter to save my life. Fumbling around in the floorboards I finally felt one, but the second I grabbed it he was knocking on my window. Roll the window down. Do you know why I stopped you? Blah blah blah. As I'm reaching into my glove box for my registration and crap, he says, son, do I smell marijuana? I don't know why you would, sir. You don't have any marijuana in the car? No sir, we do not. So if I bring the dogs out here they're not gonna find anything? Go ahead, but you're wasting your time. This goes on for probably 10 minutes before my roommate, who was still freaking out, decides to chime in with, "Sir, we had some weed, but we just smoked it. It's all gone." I looked over at him with a kind of "what the frick" and kind of "I freaking hate you" look. Instantly, "Driver, step out of the car please." Was told by the officer I actually passed the roadside tests, but my buddy already admitted to smoking. So why give me the test? So he kindly transported me to a hospital where they took my blood for testing. Boom. Are we under the influence of marijuana? Thanks, Tim. Always remember Chris Rock's wisdom when you're a passenger. Shut the frick up. So the first time I ever tried to smoke herb was in middle school. 2 friends and I went off into the woods to smoke out of tin foil, but soon discovered that we had no lighter. After pontificating as a group, we decided that the best way to get one was to try steal it from a car in the neighborhood, because people keep lighters in their cars and one was bound to be unlocked. The police were called soon after and a squad car pulled up next to us. The policeman very calmly asked us what we were doing. After lying, we were informed that someone called the police because a group of kids were trying to break into cars. We lied again, and then the officer explained to us that when he pulled onto the street, he saw us near a car with its dome light on, but that we closed the door and walked aimlessly away down the street around the time a dumb juvenile delinquent might have realized there was a car approaching. We explained that we had a flashlight and that must have been what the officer saw, not a dome light. He asked what we were using the flashlight for, and at that moment my 2 friends looked directly at me, relinquishing any control over the situation, and waited for me to come up with something. The conversation continued like this. Me: "We dropped some money and we were trying to find it." Officer: "How much?" Me: 50 cents. Officer: "You're out at 9:30 at night looking for 50 cents? Me: "Yeah. Our friend has a soda machine." This is when one of my friends takes off into the woods between 2 houses, but the police officer seems frozen by my stupidity. Officer: "A soda machine?" Me: "Yeah, in his garage. We wanted a soda." My other friend just sits down on the side of the road and stares off into the distance. Officer: "Where do you live?" Me: "A few streets over. We'll go home right now." Officer: "Go." When asked if I wanted to take breathalyzer for the fun of it and I said yes, pulled over for something else, had a little too much and knew the cop. That's like advanced stupid. Parked up with a girl and we are making out at a viewpoint over the city. Car comes speeding up and 2 guys in plain clothes hop out and pull open the front door and shines a torch in my face. He shouts it, "British plainclothes police officers." To which I reply I don't have any, as either he had said see it. He laughed, then ripped my car to bits looking for drugs. Turns out my car was very similar to the local drug dealers. A guy I went to college with got pulled over for drunk driving. He got out of his car and said, "I did it. I was the second gunman on the grassy knoll." The cops laughed at him. Maybe he actually was and they let JFK's real killer off. After being stopped, rudely questioned, breathalyzed and my license rego checked by 2 cops, I knew I hadn't done anything wrong. They realized I was average Joe and explained I was in a known druggo area. I then asked them, "Oh, so that's why you were being so obnoxious?" College, a wee bit tipsy, officer stopped and inquired as to why I was stumbling as I walked. Well, I pay taxes on this sidewalk, and I wanted to use the whole thing. You know, I want to get my money's worth. He didn't think it was funny, but since I was already in front of my house, he didn't arrest me for public intoxication either. Got pulled on my motorcycle in town. Cop: "Do you know why I pulled you over?" Me: "No, I don't. I was doing the limit." Cop: "Yay, on one wheel." Not a police officer, but shortly after 9/11 I took a flight for the first time. I was very nervous, because I don't do well with heights and I didn't know what to expect. At the time, the airports were still staffed by men in fatigues with big automatic weapons. I went through security, and the metal button on my jeans set off the wand. So this huge, serious guy asks me, in his huge, serious tone, "Do you have anything in your pants?" To which I replied, with a nervous chuckle, "Nothing you'll be interested in." I'm from Louisiana, more specifically, a small town by the name of Marksville. This is very relevant to the story. So I'm driving my hopefully soon to be girlfriend, her best friend, and her mom in my car, in another town called Pineville. Get pulled over for speeding in a school zone. Cop comes up and it goes like this. Sir, do you know why I pulled you over? No, sir. You were going about 10 over in a school zone. I'm sorry, I didn't realize this was a school zone. You didn't see the big signs that said school zone? Or my lights? Or anything like that? Number? No, sir. Where are you from? Marksville. At this point he spoke in a very sarcastic tone. Do they have cops in Marksville? Yes, sir. They just made CNN a week earlier, while Baltimore and Ferguson and Black Lives Matter were still all over the news. 2 black cops had chased some white guy in his car at like 5 AM for no legitimate reason. Started firing at his car because reasons. Guy crashes. Cops walk up to the car, find out they just shot his 6-year-old son 5 times in the head and chest. They just got charged with 2nd-degree murder. Still got out of the ticket, though. I'm 19 and got pulled over for the first time in an BFE, not even in my home state, and I'm trying to find my cousin's house. All sounds like balls to the cop. He pulls me over and I sit there super nervous. He asks me to turn off the music up. Okay. Yeah, and my radio goes off. He asks me why I was in a bar. I was asking directions to town. He doesn't really believe me, but it's completely true. He asks me to get out of the car and starts to test me. Flashlight in the eyes. Smells my breath, all that. He asks if I have anything in my pocket, say a Lego. Cop, did you say you have a Lego? I had been building stuff with Lego blocks earlier in the day. I had one of those little hose things. It's a double female and looks cool. I think I was building a hot rod or something. Cop, dejected. Say just go up 2 stoplights and take a right. It will lead you straight into town. So I was speeding, and I mean speeding, home one day when I see the red and blue in my rearview mirror. Stopped, cop did the walk, asked me why I was speeding, but was too nervous to say anything to the cop, and just kept shifting in my seat. Naturally, the cop thinks something's up, so he has me get out of the car and proceeds to frisk me. I'm clenching my starfish as hard as I can, and he takes this as an admission that I'm hiding drugs or something. So he gloves up while he partner watches, and proceeds to give me a cavity search after I utterly begged him not to, which of course just eggs him on to doing it, thinking he's going to score. He didn't. Oh, so the reason I was speeding home and was acting all nervous was because halfway home, I felt that I had a massive movement about to happen, and not the solid type either. This was back when I was a shy shitter, so I felt totally embarrassed at telling the cop this. Felt even worse when he shoved that finger up there and it released the floodgates. I proceeded to take a giant, liquidy crap all over his hand, his arm, pants, and right boot. Finger cop starts vomiting. His partner is laughing his butt off, and I'm so embarrassed that I wish they'd just police brutality me and shoot me. After finger cop cools down, and I explained the situation to them of just why I was speeding due to this, I was allowed to leave and go home. Strangely ticketless, and even more strangely I was semi-cured of my shy crapping nature. So I guess I didn't really say anything, but I was stupid in not saying something. His partner is laughing his butt off, and I'm so embarrassed that I wish they'd just police brutality me and shoot me. Holy frick, I don't think I've laughed this hard in a long time. I got pulled over for rolling a stop sign while leaving a parking lot. When the cop asked why I rolled the stop sign, I told him force of habit. After a night of drinking at my friend's house, I decided to sleep in my car instead of attempting the 1-mile drive home. I woke up around 4 AM feeling much better and decided it was safe to head home. Before I knew it, I was getting pulled over because it was pitch black outside and I completely forgot to turn my headlights back on. I admitted to the officers that I drank the night before but tried to sleep it off instead of driving home. They gave me a sobriety test anyway because I reeked of alcohol. I was doing a pretty good job, but they were hesitant to let me go because god dang did I reek of alcohol. Then it hit me. This was my chance. I've been prepared for this moment my entire adult life. Me. Gentlemen, what if I told you I can say my ABCs backwards? Officer, you couldn't even turn your headlights on. Me. But what if I told you I can say my ABCs backwards? Officer, I don't know. Can you say your ABCs backwards? Me, I don't know. Will you let me go if I can? Officer, wait, what? No, maybe. Hang on. Walks back to the car to talk with his partner. After an eternity, they both walk over to me. Officer, say your ABCs backwards and we'll think about it. Me, will you ask it, like they do in the movies? Officer, what? Ugh. Sure. Ahem. Mom, can you say your ABCs backwards? Me, I sure can. Drunk or sober, recites ABCs backwards. Laughter. More laughter. Officer, wipes tears, goddammit. Get out of here. We'll follow you home. I gave them both high fives and headed home. It only took me 2 whole minutes to realize my headlights still weren't on. Once I was pulled over for rolling through a stop sign. Cop asked me why I didn't stop completely, and like an idiot I said I thought I was stopped enough. Still only gave me a warning though. When I was a 15-year-old who thought he was a badass, I told a cop, while surrounded by 3 others, why don't you put that little B pistol on your hip down and we'll see how tough you really are. If you'd ever like to know what it feels like to be tackled by 4 police officers simultaneously, give that line a try. 4 POs tackling a 15-year-old for saying something like this seems like a bit of an over-exaggeration, lol. It was the 5th of October of 2013 and I was arrested for a DWI. During the arrest I was yelling about how their dumb buses shouldn't be working during a government shutdown and that they're a bunch of Nazis trying to arrest me and ruin my life. When he first pulled up to the scene of my accident I said just shoot me, I'm a worthless repeat offender anyways. All of this was taken from my police report and I don't remember a thing from the actual encounter. My back was .24 and I definitely had no place behind the wheel. I have since sobered up and been clean for 18 months now. Congrats on Ben Soberman. If you are new to the channel, you can subscribe. I publish new videos every day. Until then, check another video. Bye for now.